What's up? It's Cody from the Keepers of Nerddom. How y'all doing? I think it's time to talk about episode 5 of Mandalorian, right? So let's visit about this one for a bit. First off, overall impressions. Just keep in mind too, there will be spoilers really quickly in this, so just be aware. If you're gonna watch this, you're gonna watch it. Overall, a much better episode than episode 3. It's an even better. It really is a better episode than episode 4, but that being said, it doesn't focus in on Mando as much as it probably needed to. So there's quite a few things in here that are really good. There's quite a few things that are leading towards something else. But I think that right now, who is really the bad guy? The only clue we have is some very small characters at best. And I don't know. That's kind of lame when we're over halfway through the season and we still don't really know who we should actually be rooting for other than Mando and Bo-Katan, but then really, like, who's the bad guys? And obviously we get hints, but it's just not very clear at this point who's actually going to be the bad guy, and I'll get to that. But you know what? Let's go into spoilers right now, right? Let's just go through the episode. Right off the bat, Greef Karga gets attacked by the pirates, Davy Jones, essentially, plant face. And it's cool, it's a cool concept, cool scene stuff. Like, there's a lot of really cool scenes in here. Like, thank goodness we are not at just pure talking moments. Like, there are some good scenes here. Greef Karga tries to get help from the New Republic, from the older rebel guy that we've seen before, and then we get an awesome intro into one of the legacy characters now from Star Wars Rebels. We get to actually see Zeb in quote-unquote live action. He's CGI, but it's live action, quote-unquote, and it looks good. I heard his voice and he was like, wait a minute, I know who that is. And I was like, purple, the Lasats, oh my gosh, it's him. It's from Rebels, and it was really just cool. And unfortunately, they didn't use him, other than speaking for just a little bit at the very beginning. But really, still cool to see him. So, guy goes to the New Republic. They say we can't. It's all on back order, and this isn't even an alliance system. So they're even lower priority than anybody else. And then also the whatever she is, basically traitor that's in the New Republic just to get information, pops in and pretends like she's wanting to go get him a coffee or something. And it's totally just a ploy for her to listen in. And then, the guy is like, hey, you lived out there. What, give me your thoughts on this. And then she's all like, let him suffer. Let him die. And you're like, geez. And even the old pilot guy's like, that's pretty Empire of you. And they have a little, tiff, and the guy over them is just like, hey, calm down. Which is hilarious considering it's just such a dumb thing of like, dude, you need to be paying attention to this person may or may not be actually like rehabilitated. You don't know. And clearly from the last, or episode 3, they should know. If there's any cameras at all in anything, they should know. Anyway, so Greef Karga gets no help, and the old rebel pilot also is obviously getting no help, so he decides he's going to go to the Mandalorians, and somehow he knows because he's connected to R5-D4, which is hilarious because now we're making this, again, legacy character into way bigger of a thing than he ever was. He's just some junk droid, and now he's was part of the rebellion, and now is part of Mandalorian's story and connected, so somehow he could track R5-D4. And the Mandalorians are apparently too stupid to realize that he's easily tracked or he has some communication. And they all complain, we're gonna have to move again. And then they say a line at some point in this episode where they go, we don't have any ships, like the Mandalorians themselves, other than the Naboo starfighter, which granted really isn't a ship for transport, but then they can transport in Bo-Katan's ship because it is she says it's a fighter transport, which is interesting, right? And it is bigger. but I don't know if it's big enough to carry everybody. Side note, right? Which does lead to an interesting question of how did the Mandalorians get to that planet they were on anyway? Seems like they're just asking to get destroyed and not having any resources or ability to do stuff. It's just interesting. Like, how did they get there in the first place? Did they pay for transport? I mean, maybe. It's just, I don't know. Just bizarre. So they get told about it, and they decide, they make a plea for them, Din Djarin does, and he goes, okay, here's the deal, and then the minigun Jon Favreau Mandalorian stands up, and he basically makes this big speech. It sounds like he's basically going, nope, hate these people, we're not helping them, and then all of a sudden goes, let's do it. Din Djarin saved my boy, we're doing it. Okay. Like, you made this big epic speech, like, nope, yes, we're doing it. And it was a weird speech, but it was interesting. That was fascinating. And so they go, and the two fighters take on an entire pirate cohort, which, talk about some plot armor, right? Obviously, they're good pilots, but still, like, I don't know. You just hit a point where you go, okay, this gets into goofy territory. Goofy. Very goofy. And it looks cool. Like, that's just it. If you're not paying attention to the little details here, it's really, really good. And I guess that was part of my problem in episode 4, was I wasn't paying really close attention to the details and missed that it wasn't as good as I was thinking. But I would say this is a better thing in general. So they defeat the pirates in this epic battle scene. I don't understand how the pirates have like this black, like, ash goo all over half the city. Like, obviously they bombarded it earlier, like, I get that, but it didn't seem like they bombarded it that much. I don't know what that stuff was, but anyway, yeah, basically they win. It's awesome. There's a great battle stuff going on. It is really cool. Just feels a little bit plot armory. How many Mandalorians die in this? Not sure, but it looked like there was a few. So bizarre stuff there, and Grief Karga and them all show up at the very end, and hold up like 5 pirates and be like, haha, we helped. And then they give the Mandalorians some land, and then the armorer is like, all right, take off your helmet, Bo-Katan, which is really creepy, weird, because Bo-Katan's like, we're friends now. Why am I doing this? And then she makes this big speech, but it doesn't make any sense as a speech, because she's basically saying, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's super bizarre. She goes, you're the one that can unite all the clans, and never gives a real justification for why she's taking off her helmet. Just that you can unite the clans. Well, why do you have to take off your helmet for that? I mean, I kind of get it, just because of identification. How do you know you are who you say you are if you don't have your helmet ever taken off? Like, I get that, but this is the weird stuff, right? This is, I don't know. And so basically, Bo-Katan's going to be sent out on a mission to unite the clans and get them all together and in there, the one cool thing is, the armorer goes, you've seen the mythosaur, and it's the sign of the dawning of a new age, so maybe that's the reason with the helmet off, but yet it almost maybe points to they're going to take their helmets off at some point once the way is secure and the age has changed. I don't know. See, it wasn't clear. And then they're like, we're going to go retake Mandalore once we get everybody back together, which they could really easily. Mandalore has basically got some cave trolls, and that's about it that you'd have to really worry about. Obviously, there's always critters and stuff, but it's a planet that could actually come back as a planet. So, rather interesting thought process here. Yeah, at the end of the episode, we see something really fascinating. The old rebel pilot comes back. He's out in his X-Wing and finds an old Lambda-class shuttle that apparently was the one transporting Moff Gideon, because he suspected that they never made it to trial. and sure enough, he was broken out or something, and they find a piece of Beskar in the hull of the Lambda-class shuttle. And the reason he finds any of it is, the Lambda's out in space, and he actually sends his droid to take images of it. And it's literally an astromech droid that little camera thing that R2-D2 pops up out of his head in Empire Strikes Back whenever he's down in the swamp. Apparently, as we've seen now, it can detach from the droid and actually fly on its own, at least in space. And it investigates the whole thing for him and takes scans and pipes them straight into the X-Wing's cockpit. It was really cool, but it was just like, that's a whole new feature. And that's quite a big new feature. That obviously astromech droids have a lot more utility than we realize. Which is fine. It's just kind of interesting that there's this whole, like, extra thing that astromechs can do. It almost reminds me of, like, is it episode 2, whenever R2-D2 is then shown with jets in his feet, so he can actually fly around and do stuff. Completely new addition to this idea of astromechs, but yet, it was fun, it was cool, but you're like, why can't R2-D2 do that later on? And obviously, we know just from older movies, didn't have the ability, but also they probably didn't even think about that yet. It's just one of those weird things, because you show something whenever a droid is younger, having the capability. Could it be taken out? Well, sure. But everything we've indicated is that R2-D2 is always around money until he ends up with Luke. And then once he's with Luke, there's nothing that destroys him, so he should still have them installed. Just kind of an interesting logic thing. And that's one of those things, like, Star Wars has interesting problems when you stop to think about certain pieces. But overall, this episode 5, was much better than, easily better than episode 3, as episode 3 is terrible. And episode 4, when you stop to really think about it, it's nowhere near as good as this episode. But this episode's still just some filler stuff with action, and we still just don't know who the bad guy is. Other than, quote unquote, Moff Gideon's still the name that keeps getting thrown around occasionally, but we haven't seen him. We've got nothing about him other than he's still alive and has escaped. Like, that's all we've seen. We haven't seen anything of him this entire season, so just kind of bizarre. Those are my 2 cents. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of episode 5. It is definitely a step up from where we've been, but I think we've only got like 3 episodes left, and that's not a whole lot of time to give us some good stuff. I just don't know, like, right now Star Wars is in a rough spot, and The Mandalorian's the best spot of it, and lately this season it's not been good. It's been struggling comparatively to where it has been. So let me know down in the comments below what you think. I've been Cody from the Keeper's Nerdum. Take care. Bye.